Howdy folks, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, making another video for you out of Boise, Idaho. And today I thought I'd take a moment and show you how to change out the front brakes on a 2007 Ford Fusion. It's going to be a straightforward brake job that's going to include removing the brake caliper, the caliper bracket, and the rotor, because it's going to be getting both new brakes and rotors. So they're disc brakes and rotors, so again, it's going to be pretty straightforward. And honestly, if you can do one set of disc brakes and rotors, you can really get them all done. They're not complicated like drums or anything like that. So yeah, just thought I'd kind of show you this one. So I'll be calling out stuff like socket sizes and whatnot for the 07 Ford Fusion and go from there. My kiddo's going to join us today. This is Nero. Say hi, Nero. Hi. He's been... Since he's gotten a little older here, getting around on his own, he's been really, hey, get away from that street. He's been real interested in what I've been doing out here, so you probably see a lot more of Nero as he kind of hangs out with his daddy while he's working and learning. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get started with this brake job. Now, again, nothing too complicated about a brake job. Go ahead and use either your factory jack or a scissor jack, hydraulic jack, whatever you have, and get the vehicle jacked up, and then go ahead and place a secondary jack stand underneath there. Whenever you're jacking up a vehicle and you're working underneath it, I don't care what you're using, hydraulic jack, screw jack, bottle jack, just whatever you name it, always use a secondary and if possible a third system like jack stands, a second jack, anything, so that way if one fails you have another to back up on, and that way you don't have a vehicle falling on you and squishing you. I raised a lot of vehicles on my own by myself, working for myself for as many years as I have, so gotten pretty good at it. So go ahead and get you a jack and jack stand up, put the vehicle with the emergency brake on. Also, make sure if you're going to be lifting a vehicle or working on a vehicle on any type of incline, go ahead and use a wheel chock as well for safety. And then once you get that vehicle up, while the tire is still on it, just go ahead and give it a good few shakes. And you see I'll shake the heck out of it if I can. I want to make sure that car's not going to fall off of that setup. So we're good there. And now let's go ahead and get to work. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and get your lug nuts off. So I'm using a 3/4 inch socket here. Now, I suspect these brakes and rotors are going to be extremely bad. I heard the lady pull in last night, and honestly, I could hear her coming down the road. It was grinding so bad. I wonder if she has, like, basically no pad left whatsoever. We'll see. Alright, another thing I do for safety when I'm working on a vehicle is I take these steel rims, whatever type of rim it is, steel, aluminum, you name it, and I shove it underneath the frame of the vehicle. So that way if the vehicle ever falls, you've got that much space to save you. So, and let's see. You know, there's no inner pad on this side. I wonder if this caliper's been getting stuck. So there's no inside pad. So since we're replacing pads and rotors, we are going to need to go ahead and remove our brake caliper and then go ahead and remove our bracket. Our caliper looks like it's going to be a 12. No. Caliper is going to be a 14mm socket. So I'm going to go grab a 14mm socket. Alright, so I'm going to use a 14mm socket. And that's going to disconnect and allow us to remove just the caliper from the brake system. There you go, that's what the bolts look like. Then you're gonna have one more down here. Hopefully I'm not getting away too much, but sometimes I may just have to. So I'll do my best to show you what's going on. And that should allow us to remove our caliper. And I'm going to take that and just set that up here for now. Oh man, the caliper. It's got some brake material on it. The piston does, but I'm not going to say it's a big deal. So let's see. Well, it's obviously not this side that's causing all the fuss, because there's really no sign that this side is grinding. And I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. I mean, that rotor is a little worn. And see, what makes me wonder if the caliper is sticking is I don't know if the camera can see this, but you can see here the different colors in the rotor. There's a blue tint. Okay, I don't know if you can see the blue tint, but there's a blue tint in this rotor. And a blue tint on metal like that means that the rotor's been getting extremely hot. It means that it's gotten hot and cold and hot and cold. And when I first started taking this apart just a little bit ago, I don't know if you heard me say, I wonder if this caliper is sticking. So that's, I'm gonna say that's like 50, 60%, not 60, 50, 40% pad left. So that's interesting. And then same on this side. Pad's still decent, so we'll set those aside. And we'll move forward with removing our bracket. And so our bracket's going to be a 15 millimeter. Broken piece of brake deal there. Well, that's going to be a lot of fun to get off. Okay, let's see if we can set the caliper somewhere where it won't kink the brake line. That way we can get in here and deal with this. Nothing. Okay. I'll be right back. Okay, so these 15 millimeter bracket bolts are not very easy at all to get off. I ended up just having to use good old manpower and a breaker bar to do so. Now on all different makes and models, this setup's going to be just slightly different size bolts, all that other good stuff. So but I'll tell you one thing that won't be different, and that's the fact that these bracket bolts can at times be extremely difficult to get out. And there we go. Now that we have the caliper bracket off, or the rotor bracket, whatever you want to call it, it's time to get the rotor off, which means you're going to need an impact punch in order to go ahead and get that out of there. Now I've already done one of them, so at this point in the job you may end up having to wrestle your bracket bolts, and these you can almost guarantee you're going to have to wrestle sometimes to get out. And I'll tell you another thing, sometimes these like to strip out. And then you got a whole nother set of issues on your hands. All right, there we go. Now we've got that rotor. Man, that rotor is just nasty. Look how nasty that rotor is. So we're gonna go ahead and put a new rotor on, along with new brake pads, and then move on to the other side. And with the noise that I heard, I'm betting at this point, obviously it's the other side that's gonna be all tore up. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so now that we got our brake assembly and rotor and everything apart, it's time to start changing things. If you're gonna do a brake job, make sure you buy the brake kit that comes with all the replaceable parts. So to give you an example, the new sliders and pins and all that other good stuff, go ahead and replace everything brand new. And then also go ahead and just re-grease everything as well. As well as also pulling out your slide pins. And if they're extremely dirty, go ahead and clean them off. But if they're not dirty, just put a layer of some brake lube on there, enough that'll squish back up into this boot a little bit. See that there? And then just kind of work that boot back down around there. There we go. There we go. All right, and then now for the next one. Get your little fresh brake lube on there. Let it squish out. Come on. There we go. All right, just go ahead and get all that changed out. Fresh brake lube in there. You'll be good to go. Now let's get our rotor on. And you're gonna have to reinstall your bolts there, screws that hold that rotor on. So make sure you line that up accordingly and get those back in. Go ahead and punch them back in. So tighten them up. While you're tightening them up, your punch is going to change direction. And then just go ahead and torque it down like that. You're in good shape there. So the next, let's go ahead and get our caliper bracket back on. And remember, these are 15mm bolts. There we go. All right. So now that I've got that down, I'm going to go ahead and install my brake pads here. Your back one's not going to be so easy. Don't worry about it. There we go. There we go. All right, now don't forget your little retainers. And actually, you know what? That's going to work against you. I'm getting see, there you go. I'm getting one step ahead of myself. It happens. Okay, so next, what you want to do is you want to go up top to the brake reservoir, and you want to take the cap off of the brake reservoir, because we're not going to open the bleeder valve here. We're just going to open up the top of the brake reservoir by taking the cap off and allow the fluid to come back up while we press the piston back. And it doesn't hurt to use like an old brake pad or something to go ahead and do that. I'm also using a C-clamp. I do have a brake tool that has like the shape of a brake pad on it that you can put in here. It's just the C-clamp was faster to grab. Alright, so you're going to push that back so it's flush. Hey kiddo, what you doing? Are you sweeping? Yeah. Go sweep the garage. I'm right here. Okay. He's 3. I'm not going to argue with him. So, I'm going to go ahead and press that caliper all the way back. Now we're going to reinstall our brake caliper. All right, there we go. And then we got our bottom one. Hey Nero, don't play underneath the car, kiddo, okay? No, not underneath the car. Now we're gonna tighten those down. Wait a minute. You know, I'm not going to edit this video at all. What am I doing here? I'm just working against myself today. You ever had a day like this? Alright. So, you see how that goes on there. There you go. Check that out. That was just an example. Actually, we need to put these in ahead of time. My thought process had a glitch in it there for a second, and that's gonna happen. All right, we got another one down here. Don't fight me. Okay, come on. You get to watch me for 10 minutes struggle. Alright. Well, at least you know it's real. Okay, here we go. Well, you gotta admit, that was no fun at all.
Okay, now, where'd my other bolt go? There it is. Okay, so now you're basically done with this side of the brake job. I'm gonna go throw this away, Nero. Okay, you've got your rotor installed, your two little bolts installed, your brake pads, your caliper, all that installed. So make sure once you finish that up, go back up top and make sure you go ahead and put your fluid cap back on, and then go ahead with the car like it is, go ahead and pump the brake pedal up until it gets tight again. And now that we've pumped it back up, we've built pressure back up, no need to bleed it because we never opened up the system down here, okay, and everything's good to go. Also, while pumping it up, you're also feeling for any issues that might come up. For example, if it doesn't pump up at all, you got a problem. But if after, I'm going to say 5 to 10 pushes of the pedal, not to the floor, just push it about halfway, after about 5 to 10 of those, if you don't feel this tighten up and grab, then you've got an additional issue. So there you go, folks. So remember, first remove your caliper, remove your brake pads and any gear parts associated with that. Then go back here, remove your rotor bracket, then go ahead and remove your rotor and do it accordingly to whatever type of vehicle you have got going on. So that pretty much finishes up the brake job for a front disc brake vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and pause it here, and I'm going to get into the other side. And with the noise that I heard this vehicle making, I'm guessing the other side is going to be pretty damaged. So I'm going to pause it here, and we'll check out that other side once I'm done breaking it down. All right, so I told you I'd show you some of the damage just already. There's a bunch. That's all metal shavings. There's a bunch of metal shavings all over this tire. I'm actually going to blow it off with compressed air. It's like fine dust. Alright, so I told you I'd show you the damage. You can see we've got one brake pad that is worn beyond the metal. And that's what it did to the inside of the rotor. Now that's obviously a brake pad and a caliper that's sticking, but why is it sticking? So what I'm going to do when I put it back together is make sure that the caliper piston presses back just fine. And I highly suspect that it's because one of these slide pins is stuck, specifically this one, and is dry as a bone in there. So I'm going to do to this one what I did to the other one, get it all cleaned up, get these slide pins out of there. If there's a lot of damage in here, then I'll replace the slide pin, but if not, then I'll just go ahead and re-grease it and get it all back together and go from there. Alright, so we got both sides done. In the end, all I ended up doing on this side was using some PB Blaster or penetrating oil to get that stuck slide pin out. Got the stuck slide pin all the way out, and then I re-greased it all, put it all back together, and everything is working fine now. So I'm going to go ahead and get this buttoned up, take it for a test drive, and get it back to its owner. So, well, everybody, this is Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician. I greatly appreciate you coming out and hanging out with me and watching me work and all that other good stuff. Please leave me any questions you may have in the comment section. I'm pretty good about getting back to you. I try to get back to everybody, but sometimes I just miss a few. So don't feel like you're bugging me if you got to email me a couple times in order to get a response. I have no concerns about that. So, all right, folks. Well, this will conclude the front brake job on the 2007 Ford Fusion. Also, if you follow these steps on just about any front disc brake setup, you should be okay. And once again, thank you for your support. I am signing off.